Welcome to the next edition of the BSIA The Voice podcast, and I am delighted to welcome into my studio Rachel Fleri from Specialist Security. Welcome to the studio, Rachel.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for inviting me.
Fabulous to have you here. So you're the owner and managing director of Specialist. Tell us a bit about the company.
Okay, so Specialist Security Co Limited was established in 2001, 25 years ago. 2001 is also when the Private Security Industry Act came about. So a long time ago. I think the industry was a very different place 25 years ago. So since then, you've had the licensing for individuals was brought in, and things have changed enormously throughout, from the type of personnel, the jobs that we do, the focus of the work that we do, the balance of male and female in the industry. There's a lot more women in the industry now. So a lot has changed over 25 years, and the business, I guess, to last and thrive throughout those decades has evolved as well. So it's about growing and evolving how you do things, how you see things, right down to becoming paperless, for example, in the last sort of year, I think. You have to keep evolving with a business, and financially you have to maintain a secure financial grounding to be able to continue on your journey. So it's been an eventful one, and happy to talk outside of this about all the various things that have happened over the years. A lot of fun, a lot of laughter, obviously some tears as well along the line. What we do at Specialist Security is we provide security professionals to the public and private sector. Anywhere where you may need a security officer, we would place them. It's a regional business, and that's by choice, possibly because when you are evolving and you have a family, you have young children, you have responsibility, in order to manage things, they need to be of a certain size in a certain place. So I think it's important for my business and the performance of my staff that we can supervise and manage them from a distance that is within reason.
Yeah.
So avoiding a national sort of delivery is what I have chosen to do.
Yeah. So you're very much focused around Wales?
South Wales, yes. We go into the southwest.
Yeah.
And it is all about service delivery.
Yeah.
So if we can get there within under 2 hours, that's great.
Yeah.
So that's important.
So you're still very much involved in every element of the business.
Yeah. Well, I would say in the last sort of 12 months, I've tried to pull back somewhat. I decided to make some change. Well, we were going to move offices. We came to a end of a lease, and the choice was what should we do? You know, moving offices, where should we go? So during that time as well, I reflected on the length of time I've been in business and thought, okay, what do I want to do with the business now? And I decided that, well, let's give it a go. Let's do a little bit of growth. In order to do that growth, it's obvious to me the best person to develop the business would be myself. And I need to be less involved in the day-to-day operation in order to do that. So I've kind of stepped back somewhat more than I have previously, and sort of taken a more strategic sort of role. And more recently, we've employed a new director of operations, and he only started a week ago. So that's an additional role that's been sort of brought in to allow me to step away somewhat. But what is interesting about that choice is that what is really important to me in the business is the culture and the way we do things.
Yeah.
So that has to remain. So I'll always be available for the security officers that I employ, and they can always have my phone number, and they can always pop to the office whenever they want. I want to retain that community style feeling of a business.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing to hear. You've recently been appointed to the newly formed S12 Security Leadership Group. How do you feel that that's starting to make an impact? I mean, it's been very high profile.
Yeah.
It's needed, definitely needed. So tell us a bit about the journey that you're on there.
Yeah. So it's about 6 months in now, and it's been emotional. Yes.
It's been emotional. That was a terrible one. I'm just putting that out there.
So the S12 has the ability to make great impact. Like any newly formed group, there's stages that you go through. What would have been nicer would have been at the outset more time that group could spend together. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're still getting to know each other, and it would benefit from more interaction between us. But obviously we all have large day jobs as leaders of our own businesses, whether they're billion turnover or million turnover. We're all leaders of varying sizes of business. So I believe that it's sort of been forming, and the groups and the work streams have been redefined now, and that's beginning to take effect. And I think why I wanted to be on the S12 was to make a difference and to make a positive impact on the industry, which I love. It has the ability to do that because it has influence.
Yeah.
And it can have massive impact. And you can see the potential power that it can field, if you like, for good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing for me, is that it remains a force for good.
Yeah. For
the industry. And I personally would always make sure that is how it remains.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be for an individual's advancement or an individual's own personal achievement. It is for the industry.
Absolutely.
And I really think it will do things. I think it's going to be slower moving or slower achieving than perhaps people would have imagined, and some of the members of the S12 would have wanted. These things take time. So
it's certainly not going to happen overnight.
No, it's not going to happen overnight, because we're not employed in it.
Yeah.
We're offering our time, and it's a slower moving thing.
Yeah.
So we can't just make the decisions and crack on. There's process even in the S12, to be honest.
What are you finding? I mean, obviously, having worked in the sector for 25 years, what are you finding challenging? What have been the things that you've encountered along the way that have been very challenging for you in the sector?
I think it's a very broad and mixed industry. So you've got all manner of roles the security professionals do. So one of the things that personally within my business I find challenging is, and that we all need to recognise, is that we employ people to do work not within where we're operating, if you like. So we base people outside of our own business in someone else's business, and we rely on those people to turn up to work, go to work, turn up to work and do a job without direct supervision. That's a monumental achievement in reality, and I know often I've sat in the office and thought, how do I do this? How am I achieving this? All these people going to work somewhere else and do a job successfully. And managing that, making it happen, and then ensuring that the people you employ do the job that you want them to do when they're not in the same room as you, or even in the same building as you. That's the biggest challenge, and communicating with them is the biggest challenge. And again, goes back to why I prefer regional operation to a national, is for that kind of reason. So that's been a major challenge in terms of operationally. As in running a business, my own business, gotta say, being a woman in a male-dominated industry, but just in running any business, when you're a woman and you have caring responsibilities, is a challenge. So for the 21 years that my children have been alive, I've been running a business at the same time, my own business, and that is a challenge as well. It's your own thing. Mm-hmm. So the carrying the responsibility of, you've got a business on one side, outside, that's your work thing, and then you've got children and family at home, so you're never away from a very strong possibility. I couldn't stay in the office for extraordinarily long hours or away from home all the time, because I had chief care of my twins. So, you also don't come through the door and have a meal per in front of you. Maybe I'm being a bit 1950s wife year, I don't know. But, so there's that home life where you have a female.
The expectation of the mother.
Yeah, and wife.
Indeed.
So that's a challenge for any woman in a role where they have a huge responsibility, is juggling that. So now the children are left home. The home life situation is, the partner's away in London for a large part of the week. I've got a freedom to focus on the business.
Yeah.
And that has been a part of the decision. Well, what's next?
Yeah.
Give it a go, step back. Well, let's give it a go. Let's go a bit further with this. So, but within that, and I think we chatted earlier on about the other challenge of, I guess, being a woman in and specific to this industry, is it is male dominated, and for me that challenge is presented within the networking aspect of it. Until recently, until the S12, I only had a few numbers. John McCaskill of the BSIA was one of them on my phone.
Good old John.
So I didn't have a network.
Yeah.
I still possibly just know more people now, but I haven't had a personal network to help with the challenges that you face running a business. I didn't have a business partner, somebody to sound off with. It's me.
Yeah.
Reasoning out my own challenges, talking to myself about it, if you like. So, but also the networking is what allows growth.
Yeah. And
until recently, I never realised how that happens. So it's all been new to me. It's difficult to say to a man, you want a buyer or just a colleague, fancy a pint after work or after this, because it can be taken in different ways. So those are the kind of challenges that I've faced in the industry. But they're all things that you overcome.
The dial's starting to shift.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
We've spoken about the Women in Security Network,
mm-hmm.
of the fact that you're now meeting women from different facets of the industry.
Yeah.
But you've now got that comfort zone that you can walk into a room and see a familiar face.
Yes.
And that is such a huge difference.
Yes.
That we've started to connect women
And
who sit in silos.
Yeah,
don't
and
they?
that move, and I know you're a big part of making that move happen, and so that's credit to you and appreciation from myself and obviously all the other women in the industry that can now enter those rooms, and at least they see one familiar face and can talk to people, because it is challenging.
Yeah.
You go to trade shows and you're wandering around and you don't know faces. You know, seeing a friendly face is a big positive.
It makes it so much more enjoyable.
So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Long may it continue. But I mean, we talked about you know, the relationship that you've had with John McCaskill, the BSIA.
Yeah.
Specialist, obviously a member of the BSIA. How important is it for you to have that support from the BSIA?
It's been so valuable because it was the only part until I sort of got involved with stuff with the ACS Forum Network, which I do with Steve Gardner and Julie Barwick from the SIA. Before that, the BSIA was the only network I had, the only part of the industry that could feed information, that could share it. And in fact, coming to Worcester today, I remember many years ago coming to my first meeting, BSIA meeting, and I think at the time it was to do with individual licensing coming on board, and
that's a long time ago.
A long time ago, and people were really interested because it was going to affect everyone.
Yeah.
And I remember coming, you were obviously in your other offices then, and walking in. I think now back, I think, wow, I can't believe I had the courage to do that. And I remember I drove down and I walked in, and it was this huge board table. I've never seen such a huge board table. And the room was full of men of a certain age. And I was the only woman there, I think. And everyone wore blue or black suits, ties, shirts, and everyone just sat around. And I never thought, why am I here? I never felt that I was out of place being there, but I know I looked out of place. And I think, so, but my relationship with the BSIA spans many years, and they've been a great support and a great part of my journey. They really have. So, and they're evolving, like specialist security evolves. You're evolving, and just sat in here now with yourself, Liz, that's an evolution, and that's
Absolutely.
A modernising. And if we don't evolve as businesses, we'll fall by the wayside.
Absolutely. You said 25 years this year. What are your birthday plans?
We're going to have a party.
Fabulous.
We're going to maybe do some pens.
Never have enough pens.
All up for ideas, you know, so if you want to share any, but we will have a party, and we intend to sort of, you know, make some noise about it. Absolutely. Because it is a big thing.
It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, a quarter of a century running, owning a business is an achievement, and perhaps I haven't really realised that until now. It sort of happens, and then sort of suddenly, a bit like any ageing process, you're there and you think, how did that happen?
How did I get there?
How did you get there? Yeah. So, but we're not stopping at 25. So
that's fabulous news.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today. I could sit and chat to you for hours. Honestly, you're a fascinating woman.
Thank you.
And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.